Hi, this is Aaron at Power Popaholic, and I'm talking today to Vic Wayne, the lead singer and songwriter of Star Collector. How are you doing today, Vic?
I'm doing great, Aaron. Thanks for having me on.
Sure, sure. You guys are a Vancouver band. You've been around for a while. The last album you had that came out this year was Attack, Sustain, Decay, Repeat, correct? I
Right.
just wanted to make sure I
Tongue
got that right.
twister. You did.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So tell me, because I don't know the particulars about your band, and I'm sure you're aware that way back in the day, in the 90s, there was a band called Star Collector in the US. So I want to know how you guys got together and how you got over the name change.
Sure. Well, actually, there's a funny anecdote about that other band. So there's one station that plays us on a few of their shows, and whatever the bot is that decides, like, to relay it to Star Collector, they
Right.
always use that other band's album cover with our with our songs, but we can't get them to change it. It's the damn bots. But yeah, well, I was aware of that band, and we were around, I think, maybe even before they were. This
Oh,
band started in '96, so it's been a while, but I guess they've all gone on to other stuff, and we just keep on keeping on up here in the Great White North. So yeah, we've been around since '96, and the album that we're talking about is our sixth. And yeah, we're pretty happy with the way it's going so far.
yeah, it came out really nice. Tell me a little bit about how the band initially got together. I mean, I don't know if there was multiple lineup changes between now and the sixth album. So give me a little, abbreviated history of, how things started.
Sure, will do. Well, I started the band with a childhood friend of mine that I was in my first mod band with, and he just got a hold of me right after a band I had been in with Steve, my current guitar player, had broken up. And it was just that sweet spot of time. He said, "Are you playing with anybody right now?" And I said, "Actually, for the first time in like 10 years, I'm not." And he said, "I'm thinking of moving to Vancouver. Do you want to write some songs together?" And we'd had a great chemistry as teenagers. And he came over and we wrote basically our first album together. And then just when we were getting to the end of the recording, things didn't work out between us. And I asked Steve if he wanted to come back and help me finish the last two songs. And he liked what we were doing, came back, finished the songs, and he's been with me since then. That was '97.
Wow.
So Steve and I have been together, yeah, well, you can do the math, 26 years in this band and a bit of time before that. And we had a drummer, we just called him Ringo, but his real name was Renee. And Ringo was with us for 21 years. And then he and his wife had a kid a little late in the game and decided to move to another province here in Canada. So we tearfully said bye-bye, Ringo. And luckily, we had this other fellow in town who we knew of had played tons of shows with his old band. His name's Adrian. And we said, "Did you want to, Ringo's got to go. Did you want to join in?" And he said, "Oh, love to." And so can I swear on this?
Sure. We're on YouTube.
Okay,
They don't
so
care.
his actual words weren't love to. His actual words in all caps were "fuck yeah." so so
You
we
want to
said,
hear
okay, I
that as a
guess
bandmate.
that's right, exactly. So we knew he was keen, and he turned out that he's also an engineer. So aside from being a drummer, and we also found out that he had a good voice too later in the game. He didn't sing in his old band. So he came with a lot of good stuff to add to the band. And then the ongoing joke with our band, and this is actually not exaggerating, we've had 19 different people play bass at some point in this band.
It's like the rotating bass player. It's not quite Spinal Tap with the drummer, but with the bass player. One of them just explode or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. No spontaneous combustion. Well, two of them did actually, in fact, but aside from those two, so yeah, we just, like we'd have a guy for 2 years and he'd be great, and then
Mhm.
he'd decide to move to the other side of the country, and then we'd have another guy for 2 years, and he decided he didn't want to play music as seriously or whatever. It would just go on and on. So the 19 includes these guys that would come and do like a tour with us, or maybe play on a song or two on an album. So it's not
Right.
quite 19
All
as
right,
band
but it's a
members,
good,
but
large
it is
amount.
19, and I can provide a list. so so anyway, so when we were doing Game Day, which was our 2021 album,
Yeah.
my brother Adam, who lives in Portland, Oregon, was filling the bass seat for us, and it's fabulous to play with him. He was the third member of that first mod band I was in,
Right.
and we grew up playing music together, and idolized the Jam and that whole thing, which I'm actually wearing their shirt
Oh
today, it
yeah,
turns out.
cool. Very nice shirt.
And thank you. And so Adam filled the bass seat, but he lives in Portland and we're in Vancouver, and it's a bit of a haul. And our finances don't allow the private jet to fly him up here for rehearsals. so
Right, right.
so luckily there was this local guy that we thought had sort of decided he was going to retire from music, because our drummer had played with him and said, "Oh, I'd love to get this guy Tony, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to play seriously anymore." But I'm me being the the brash guy I am, was like, "Well, screw that, I'm just going to send him a message." And sure enough, well, he didn't actually say fuck yeah, but he said something kind of close. He said love to.
All
So
right.
whatever the case was, so Tony's been with us for about 2 years. So that's kind of the current lineup and the much abbreviated history of how we got to where we are
Where
now.
you are. All right, perfect. All right, that's awesome. Now, this new album, Attack, Sustain, Decay, Repeat. I loved a lot of the songs here. My favorite was "Beat It to Death," which is a veiled criticism of the way power pop music is written and the way the hooks get beaten to death, I guess.
Oh, well, actually, it's not. That's interesting that you hear it that way. It's actually not. You know what
That's
it
the first
is?
thing that came to my mind.
Well, that's fair actually, because it is about, like, don't bore us, get to the chorus. I even say that at the end,
Right.
with some more potty mouth talking, I think, too. But it's interesting is the genesis of that song came from, I've always been a huge fan of the song "Do You Want Crying" by Katrina and the Waves.
Oh, wow.
And that song just keeps repeating that chorus over and over. So there was that, and then there was the song "Volcano Girls" by Veruca Salt, which, again, I always humming that damn chorus. So somehow those two were percolating in my brain, and it just kind of coalesced into writing. So it's a veiled. It's actually a bit of a double entendre too. The whole song actually can be about sex too,
That's
but
true.
uh, but but the pop music part of that entendre is, in fact, that it was just more of an ode to songs that just have killer choruses, and how much, like, if you beat them to death, it's all right, man, because if it's the chorus is that good, let her fly.
Yeah.
So, and in
No.
the video, we've actually got a number of Katrina and the Waves little things popping up in it too.
Oh,
So
cool. So
anyway,
people can look for
that's
that.
where it
Look for
comes.
the Katrina and the Waves hints and Easter eggs.
That's right.
So also another song I really liked was Crashin', which had kind of like a Cheap Trick vibe to it. And I like the cowbell added as well. It's pretty cool. I always love when those little details like come up, behind, the rhythm. So I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was really nice, and even like the ballad, like "Cross My Heart," which was a really nice ballad about a marriage breakup, which you don't hear that often. Usually, you don't hear mature ballads along those lines usually from a rock band. So I think that was unique and it's pretty special.
Oh,
And
thank you, Aaron. That's very kind. And so those are the pretty much two polarities of the album you just mentioned. Crashing would be the most sort of 70s arena stomping cowbell and power chordy kind of tune. Steve and I co-wrote that one together. It was his fabulous guitar riff, and I almost foolishly turned it down when he first played it for me. And then I sort of got, came to my senses and said, "What am I thinking? That's a great riff." And we always have to have at least one song with cowbell on the album. But "Cross My Heart," actually, it's interesting that you mentioned that one. That's it's more than about the breakup of marriage. It's actually a true story, and it's pretty
oh wow,
horrific. But it's a woman that I went to high school with, and saw it to a couple high school reunions, and she looked like she was happy and everything was good. And then a few years back, just before I wrote the song, I saw in the news that her husband had actually killed her and her daughter, and then shot
oh
himself.
wow, that's terrible. Wow. Well, so
I
it's
know
a
that's
it's
pretty
really
heavy
a
stuff, but it's a really dark song, and that's so I'm not going to go into all the lyrics, but
Sure,
I
sure.
but that's kind of the background to that song. And like you said, you don't get a lot of power poppy bands doing that kind of stuff, but we kind of like to veer outside that whole power pop thing quite a bit. Like
Sure.
I love Echo and the Bunnymen and lots of other stuff. And even though that's kind of our straight and narrow vibe, like Beat It to Death and Crashing are good examples of us doing that kind of straight up the middle. But
Sure.
there's a lot of different tangents that we like to jump into. And that one, is kind of a bit Nick Drakey almost. It's just me and the
Yeah.
acoustic. And you can even hear some creaks of the bench that I'm sitting on. And that was intentional to give it that, Neil Young type of,
That like
type of
lived
vibe.
in
And
kind of
anyway,
like solo vibe. No, it's really good. And now I know a little bit of the backstory about that song, which is interesting. So some of the tour dates that you've had, are you doing more tours to support the album? Where are you playing?
well, we've actually done a couple like Western Canadian tours over the last sort of 6 months since COVID opened up and we're allowed to actually start playing, because those are the easiest for us to do. We don't have to worry about any of the border stuff, which can be touch and
Yeah.
go. We have gone down and played in the States, but there's stuff that comes with that makes it a little trickier. So it's easier for us to go east in Canada and play other cities to the east in Canada. So we've done a couple of those. We've got a big, I know it seems like it's a little late in the game for it because the album's been out for a few months, but we're actually
Sure.
doing our album release party in a few weeks
Nice.
here in Vancouver at this fabulous venue called the Fox Cabaret, which used to be a porn theater apparently, but but it's a really cool venue
appropriate.
now. Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, it's a really cool venue now. It's got a great stage. It's an old theater. It's got a big screen at the top. You can project stuff, and
Nice.
yeah, it's gonna be cool. Yeah.
When are
looking
you?
forward to it.
Have you played in Toronto this year, or are you planning to?
We haven't played that far east yet. No, that's Toronto's about
That's the
to get to
closest to
Toronto
me
and
I
back,
could
you
get
want to
out to
book at least.
Canada.
Oh, for you, of course, because you're in New York, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. Wouldn't that'd be nice? I mean, and talk to some other people in the power pop community. They're like Chicago and Brooklyn-y, kind of in those pockets of the States, and
Yep.
they're always like, "When are you guys coming out here? We can get you shows. We can." And it's just like it's a long freaking way.
Oh yeah,
It's
from
like
Vancouver, it's a long, long haul.
it is, man. To get to Toronto, like you need to get at least 3 weeks of tour dates to get there and back, and that's with almost no nights off. You got to play
Wow.
because every day in Canada, like how big our country is, right? Like every day you're driving 6 to 8 hours, and then you play and get up
Yeah.
and do it again. So
You move
yeah,
from
but I'll let you know
province
if
to
we're coming to
province.
Toronto.
It's a long haul between capitals. I know that. That's for
Right.
sure.
Unlike the States where there's lots of cities you can play closer together with larger populations, Canada's just it's
It's spread out
for
a
better or
lot
worse.
more.
It's
Yeah.
spread out. Yeah.
All right. So cool. So I want to wish you luck on the continued success with this album, and I really thank you for talking with me and having this interview. And we look forward to after this tour is done, you writing some more stuff and coming out with some more music.
Happy to. We're already got a bunch of songs in the in the hopper, but this one still feels pretty new. So we're
Yeah.
we'll work on those quietly, and then we'll try to get them out when the time's right. But thank you so much for having me on. It's awesome. I
Sure.
love
Thank you, Vic. Vic Wayne, everybody,
you.
Star Collector. Check out the album Attack, Sustain, Decay, Repeat. I know it's a mouthful, but it's a great album. Highly recommended on my site. So thank you, Vic.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right, take care. Bye.